Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with random reviews from the Overflow room. And today we are wrapping up our 4-video survey of my Overflow Carl Nielsen collection. Oh, and we have all kinds of, it's all symphonies, or mostly symphonies. It's mostly symphonies with some other things, maybe one other thing thrown in, I'm not sure. So here, let's look. First, RCA Classics Classical Navigator. These were crappy sounding, unremastered reissues of things that were baking and moldering in RCA's back catalog. So we have the Nielsen first and the Saul and David Prelude and the fourth. Well, and The Fog is Lifting with James Galway. Wow, this is some amazing stuff. Why? Because you've got, the first is with Andre Previn and the LSO, which is a beautiful performance. And the fourth, oh my God, is the Martinon Chicago Symphony recording, which is one of the great ones, except that they put in a pause between the slow movement and the finale when they're supposed to go straight together after just a sort of Luftpause, but they have like a whole break and it's like stupid, and they fixed it in the Martinon box that they issued on RCA, the Martinon Chicago box. But this was all you could get for a while. The sound, like I said, was needed to be remastered, and sort of has been now that there's a Previn box and a Martinon box, but there you had it together. So that was fun. And then we had the Second Symphony and the Clarinet Concerto. Also, the Second Symphony with Morton Gould in Chicago. It's a good performance. And the Clarinet Concerto with Benny Goodman and Jean Martinon conducting. Wow, baby, the Helios Overture. Let me see, is it Martinon conducting? I think so. It's the Helios Overture he's doing, pardon me. The Clarinet Concerto is it Morton Gould? It doesn't even say. It's not clear. I don't remember. I don't care. It's not a great Nielsen Clarinet Concerto. Goodman was never at his best in classical music, although he has the notes. But it's fun. I mean, to hear Benny Goodman do this stuff, and I give him props for doing it at all, because a lot of people who would never otherwise have listened to classical music listened to it because Benny Goodman played it. So good for him. It just, there are other better performances, and that's that, just the way it is. Nielsen, Symphony Number 2, The Four Temperaments, with Pan and Syrinx, and the Aladdin Suite with Esa-Pekka Salonen and the Swedish Radio Chorus and Symphony Orchestra. This is Aladdin with the chorus. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Yes, it's wonderful. Anyway, this is very good. This is one of his good ones. It's only the fourth in this series that was lousy. It's such a pity. It's just such a pity. This is an exciting, rip-roaring performance. Aladdin is terrific. It's pedal to the metal. Oh, my God. And the first symphony here, the Little Suite, which is adorable. And it's very good. Very, very good. A pity, again, that we don't get to have a great fourth in that cycle. Oh, well, this is interesting. This is the mid-price Enchant series with Gennady Rojdestvensky and the Royal Stockholm Philharmonic Orchestra, which was later going to do, I think it's Royal Stockholm that does it again, or is it the Swedish Opera? I don't know, but under Sakari Ormo, that's the reference Nielsen cycle now on BIS with Swedish orchestra. I forget which one it is. It's tremendous. But here, Rojdestvensky did a Nielsen cycle, which is really interesting. Rojdestvensky played everything slowly. I mean, well, he in his later career. I don't mean it was slow in the sense of like perverse, like Celibidache. It's not. He just has a deliberateness to it, a Russianness, if you want to call it that, a heaviness, which really works quite well in a lot of this music. I mean, you have to get used to the tempos. But once you do, I like this Nielsen cycle because he doesn't pull any punches, even though it's slower than usual. The orchestra plays really well. The sonics are really good. It's an interesting alternate view of the music, and a legitimate one, I think. So I keep this because I think it's very interesting to take out once in a while and give it a spin. And this was the mixed Myungwon Chun Nimi Yarvi Sibelius Nielsen cycle. There we go. Unfortunately, as I pointed out in the previous video, Chung jumped to Deutsche Grammophon and never finished this. He did wonderful recordings of a bunch of these suckers. 2, 3, 5 were absolutely excellent. And let me see, did he do one as well? I think he might have. But Yarvi popped up to do 4 and I think 6, right? Yeah. Yeah, Yarvi did 4 and 6. And the 4th was nothing special. The 6th is okay, but not fabulous. Nielsen was never his thing. It really wasn't. I mean, Yarvi had many, many fine qualities as a conductor, but Nielsen wasn't one of them. And then we've got the violin, flute, and clarinet concerti, all the concerti in excellent recordings with Dong Suk Kang is doing the violin concerto, and Patrick Galois, the flute concerto, and Ola Schill. We talked about that already because that was originally coupled with the Third Symphony, a fabulous disc with Chung, and it's wonderful. They're wonderful, and these are falling. They're oh yeah, don't you always hear them jiggling, right? In these multi-disc set, you do this to see if the discs are coming loose, and you need to like stick them back on their little spindles. Anyway, it's a cycle I hang on to. It's worth keeping, but it's just a pity it wasn't completed the way it should have been. Oh yes, and we have the clarinet, flute concertos, and the wind quintet with Sabina Meyer, Emmanuel Pahud, and the Berlin Phil under Simon Rattle with the Berlin Phil, or the I don't know if it's the Berlin Phil Wind Quintet. It just says Wind Quintet with Pahud, Meyer, Stefan Schweigert, Jonathan Kelly, and Radek Baborak, French horn. Well, I have to say, they're very good performances, but they're not better than the Scandinavian ones we talked about. And they issued this because you had really major wind soloists doing them, and I'm glad they did them. They deserve to do them. They're nicely done. I think there are better performances by the Bis people we just talked about, or the Chandos people, and and then finally these people come in and they think they're going to swoop in and take over the whole world. But now it doesn't happen that way. This was issued, it wasn't promoted, nobody cared. I don't think anyone bought it except for me, and I have many other versions that I prefer. Then, last but not least, we have this wonderful Carl Nielsen box of everything, symphonies 1 through 6, overtures and concertos, wind quintet, and piano music. Wow, look at all this stuff. I mean, and choral works, and things, and tone poems, and all this stuff. The high point here, the main attraction here is the first symphony cycle by Herbert Blomstedt. And for a long time, this was the only way you could get the Nielsen symphonies if you wanted a cycle. And it's with the Danish Radio Symphony Orchestra. And it's worth remembering that before he came to San Francisco and got to be the grand old man of music, Herbert Blomstedt was kicking around. He was at the not the Gewandhaus, in East Germany, the Staatskapelle Dresden, where he made some fabulous recordings and some not as interesting recordings. There is a tendency in the Herbert Blomstedt hagiography to go back to all of his early recordings and talk about how wonderful they were, while everyone was ignoring them at the time they were released. Well, there was a reason. He wasn't that interesting. He became interesting. He really did. I mean, he matured as an artist, as a conductor, and I think it was his middle age and later middle age that, where he really reached his peak as a conductor. These Nielsen symphonies are flabby and somewhat weak and uninteresting. They're not terrible. There are some lovely things in them. There's some good performances, but the big ones, 4 and 5, they just don't cut it, and they don't compare at all to his later recordings that he made in San Francisco. The other things, all of the, concertos and tone poems and things, those are worth having. They really are. And the piano music too, piano stuff. Wait a minute. Let me see, because those are good performances. This was a beautiful set on EMI. It came with a booklet. I mean, I'm there trashing it and then saying what a beautiful set it was. Well, it was nice to have. I mean, you're not going to get bad music making here. It's just not going to be as exciting and powerful as Nielsen can and should be. Oh, Leif Ove Ansnes, of course, is the pianist. This was that Virgin stuff he did, which is wonderful. Absolutely first class, Nielsen piano music. So that's great. That's really good. And so there you go. We're finishing with a big Nielsen box, 7 CDs. It's out of print forever. It only lasted in the catalog for about 12 seconds. I snagged it while I could because I always had the Blomstedt recordings. They've been issued many different ways as twofers and, budget things and whatnot. And when the San Francisco stuff came out, it just eclipsed this stuff, and deservedly so. I know there are some people who stick by this. They cling to it like some sort of, tree sap on your car windshield that won't come off. But let's not kid ourselves. There's better Nielsen. And I conclude this set of Nielsen videos, one with that particular piece of advice for you, that, it's interesting to look at the careers of certain artists who are considered to be quite major today, particularly when they're very old and decrepit, and they weren't major previously. And they weren't. They became so, and deservedly so. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.